Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Josh Mansfield, a teacher with the Demon, and joining me is Nathan Fox, one of the founders of lsatdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Nate, today is an email conversation that I kind of distilled from Nate, a teacher here at the Demon, with the subject of successful prediction. So that we've kind of gone back and forth, and this is the takeaway that I thought would be appropriate for the agenda.
Okay, so Demon tutor Nate C says, as a teacher and Ask Button writer, I regularly receive questions about the quote success of a student's prediction. What would you consider a successful prediction? What does it mean when you make a prediction, but it doesn't match the correct answer? I guess this is relevant to your prediction fundamentals class.
Yeah, it is. Because Nate said this, and I laugh because I get this question all the time, where I will have students who will say to me, Josh, I'm really bad at predictions. Because in their mind, a prediction needs to match verbatim
Yeah.
every single time.
Yeah.
And so when they don't match verbatim, they think that they are bad at predictions. And it's a common misconception when we talk about it, because, I mean, that is the most satisfying. But I instead think of predictions as a tool that you use to evaluate answer choices. On certain question types, that means you should be looking for verbatim, and the evaluation should be, does this match my prediction perfectly? On other ones, though, you're going to have more general ideas of what the answer choices should do, and or you have a specific example, and you just know you're looking for another answer choice that functions the same as your specific example, and recognizing that you're probably never going to predict the answer to, like, this principle is best applied to which of the following fact patterns perfectly,
Yeah.
but you're going to be able to come up with something that you can then use to evaluate answer choices.
Sure. I would say if you made a prediction at all, that's already a good start. I think many times, when I go back to my one-on-one tutoring days, you ask a student, okay, so well, what did you predict here? And you get like, huh? What? Okay, well, wait, let me back off a step. When you read the argument, what did you think about it? Huh? What? Well, wait a second. You need to have thoughts. You need to, like, if you understood what was there, then you should have thoughts. So if there's an argument, I want a clear yes or a clear no. Did they prove their conclusion? Now, you can know going in that 90% of the time the answer is to that is going to be no. It's pretty clear when they do. It'll just be a couple premises that just definitely prove their conclusion. And in that case, you go, yeah, they actually did it. If we give them credit for their evidence, we have to give them credit for their conclusion. That's a valid argument. And okay, so then at like the core level, the prediction there could just be, oh, that was actually a valid argument. 9 times out of 10, though, if they made an argument, you're going to have to tell me, no, it's not a valid argument. Okay, why? Well, their evidence is over here and their conclusion's over there. And you just don't necessarily get to that conclusion with this evidence. Okay, why though? And usually you'd be able to make some practical objection like, well, what about this? What about that? You should have several, I would think, objections at that point. There's another type of logical reasoning question that just doesn't even have an argument at all, but it'll just be like a set of facts. But in that case, I also want you to have thoughts, because if you understood the premises that were there, you would maybe be able to connect a couple of the dots, like just make a couple baby steps. And those baby steps are, well, if this is true and that's true, then this slightly different next thing could be assembled out of those two pieces. You could assemble this next thing. And so all of those things are predictions, but notice that we haven't even gotten to the actual question yet. They haven't asked you a question, but you're already making predictions just when you read the record. So again, is there an argument? Is it good or bad? If it's bad, why is it bad? If there's not an argument, okay, could you make an argument based on those facts? Could you connect the dots there to make an argument or not? And so those maybe we have the prediction mode built into the daemon.
Mm-hmm.
Daemon drilling. You can turn on prediction mode, which
Highly recommend it.
highly recommend it. It
Yeah.
hides the question and the answer choices for you
Mm-hmm.
so that you can get to the heart of the matter, which is understanding and thinking about the record. But, we're calling it prediction mode when maybe a better name for it would be objections and observations mode,
Sure.
or like commentary mode.
Mm-hmm.
Just what's there and what do you think about it? If you know what's there and you have thoughts, then you've already made a fantastic prediction before you even read the question. Once you read the question, you realize it's a strengthened question versus a weakened question, then sure, that colors the angle on the prediction that you're going to make.
Right.
But it doesn't change the battlefield.
No.
It just more gives you a better sense of like who's winning or what you would have to do on one side or the other to win that case. But you shouldn't need the question. And in fact, the question actually hurts you from being able to assess the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Is any of that helpful?
I think it's great. I can completely agree. It's funny. I actually teach my students these days that you have the objection stage where I want you to think, come up with objections, come up with thoughts, create a list, right? I want everything. I want everything that you can think of that you're like, hold on, because there are going to be like questions with multiple flaws in them.
Yeah.
So come up with all your objections. Then you read the question, and then I say you've moved to the prediction stage where you narrow it down to what you're really expecting the answer, like the answer to do with the question in light of the objections that you've made. And that's when you then drop down and then evaluate your answer choices.
Oh, if you've assessed the battlefield properly, right? Mm-hmm. If you see the evidence, you see the conclusion, and you can tell them, the conclusion doesn't really get there based on these facts, and let me tell you why. Yeah, at that point, it really isn't just one prediction. It's what about this? What about that? What about this other thing? So you're not locking in on one prediction that should exactly predict the correct answer. Rather, it's just give me all your thoughts about this argument, good or bad. Mostly, though, the bad, because I don't want you telling me the argument's good when it's not.
Right.
So tell me why their conclusion isn't proven from their facts, and usually it's not just one thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, for things like main point questions or sufficient assumptions, you are going to narrow it down to one thing after you read the question.
Yeah, but you also then have to realize that there's a million different ways of saying that one thing. I mean, the main conclusion of the argument might be that, the Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But you can say that in other words. I mean, you could say the Patriots are going to lose the Super Bowl.
Yep.
You could also say when time elapses at the end of the game, the Seahawks are going to have more points on the board than the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and so like your prediction could very well have been Seahawks win.
Yep.
But the correct answer doesn't need to say Seahawks, and it also doesn't need to say win.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and to that point, I think of the answer, like when you get to the answer after you've made your prediction with the question, it really is like an evaluation stage now. It's about holding your prediction up against the answer choice and saying, do these two things do the same thing?
Yeah.
Not are the words the same, but do they do and accomplish the same thing? And one last kind of thing on this as well. I had students, one of those examples of like sets of facts but no conclusion question. But there were two real like inferences that I think could be drawn from those sets of facts. And I had a bunch of students who thought one was going to be the answer and a bunch of students who thought the other was going to be the answer. Even the ones who didn't have the right answer eliminated all four of the other ones easily because they'd already said, no, this can't be it.
Yep.
And then they saw the right one. They're like, oh, hold on. It's not what I thought. But because I did the work, I understand why this one is correct. And that to me is a successful prediction, even if it's not the exact answer.
We predict for two reasons. I mean, the biggest reason we predict is because it makes the LSAT easy and fun.
Yeah.
But the reason why it makes the LSAT easy and fun when we predict is, one, it helps condition you to recognize the right answer when you read it. Even if you didn't exactly predict it, you'll recognize the right type of thing.
Yeah. I love
Two,
that phrase.
it helps you to be more critical of the wrong answers because you can just realize, no, that's not the right type of thing. But you do need to be flexible with it. More flexible on some questions than others. Obviously, on a main point question, you need to have a pretty good idea what the right type of thing is, right? So if you're predicting Seahawks win, hopefully you can recognize Patriots lose is the same thing as Seahawks win in context. But if it's a sufficient assumption question, also you should have a real strong prediction. Like if there was an argument along the lines of Seahawks have the better defense, therefore the Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl. Okay, well, to win that argument, you need a rule that says if you have the better defense, you always win the Super Bowl. There's a few different ways, though, you can say that.
Yep.
Such as only the team that is superior at preventing points being scored by the other team can win, or something like that. And it's like, okay, if you think it through, yeah, okay, well, that means that if you have the best defense, you have to win. Okay, all right. So there's another way of getting there. Contrast that, though. So even on questions like main point and sufficient assumption, where you should be able to predict very close and often predict verbatim the correct answer.
Yes.
There's also strengthen questions. Well, there's a lot of ways to strengthen an argument. Weaken questions. There's a lot of ways to weaken an argument. Paradox questions. Wow, it's so shocking that the it's not shocking, but it's so shocking that the Rams lost or something,
Yeah.
Well, okay. If it turns out to be a paradox question, asking which one, if true, would explain why the Rams lost, despite their whatever record during the regular season, they still lost. Okay, well, a correct answer could be something like, if your defense has a bad game, you lose. Or the correct answer could also be, in the playoffs, the teams are really good, and mathematically, half the teams have to lose every game.
Sure.
So you might have several different predictions for a question like that, and then the correct answer still doesn't have to be exactly your prediction.
Right.
But it's the type of thing that you had predicted.
The phrase you use, Nate, that I will be stealing for the rest of my classes for all of time will be, your predictions should condition you to recognize the correct answer.
Yes.
Like that is the best description I've ever heard.
Yeah, and more easily sidestep the wrong answers, right?
Right.
You've got two ways to work the problem. So
yes.
You could have predicted the answer exactly, or you could have predicted the type of thing that you then recognize, oh, wait a second. Okay, I said this, but that does a very similar thing. That's the right type of thing. And at the same time, when you read wrong answers, you go, well, wait a second. Okay, so I didn't anticipate this. I didn't predict it, but that doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right.
But the reason why it's wrong is because I made a prediction and I know what a right answer would feel like. And when I engage with this answer, that doesn't do what they asked me to do.
Yeah. I hope that helps. I hope this is a helpful resource for people in kind of reframing the expectation around predictions.
It's the magic way to make the LSAT easy. Okay.
Yes.
So there are prep companies that think the LSAT is hard, and there are prep companies that think the LSAT is easy. Whether you think it's hard or you think it's easy, you're right. Because if you think it's hard and you do it the hard way, then it's going to be hard. But we think it's easy. And if you learn to do it our way, you start seeing right through the test, because you attack each passage, you attack each argument, you come up with good, thoughtful analysis of the argument, and now half the time you've already said the answer before you even read the question, let alone the answer choices. So if you're out there struggling with logical reasoning and you think the LSAT is hard, I would strongly encourage you to try it on easy mode, which is cover up the answers, cover up the question.
Yeah.
And just attack that argument to really understand what's there.
The last thing you once brought up, you were talking about it, and you read something that you thought was like outrageous, and none of your students responded in the same way. And I had in my crim law class, they put up a statute that was like antiquated. For example, in my hometown,
Oh yeah.
there's still a statute on the books that's like criminal not to smile in public.
Mhm.
And the professor's like, "What do you think of this statute?" And called on somebody, and they said, "I think it's dumb." And she's like, "That's a great answer."
Yeah.
Like law school,
Good start.
LSAT the wrong way tries to beat the common sense out of you, and you lose so much value when you lose your common sense way of just like, what did you think of what you just read? Was it interesting?
Yeah.
Was it smart? Was it dumb?
You should have thoughts.
You should have thoughts. You should have
like,
opinions.
It's like that stupid old bumper sticker, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. I think about that when I'm doing LSAT logical reasoning.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not actually outraged, but I have thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read an LSAT logical reasoning argument and you're just like, oh yeah, it said things. Like, no, look, they're trying to lie to you. They gave you a conclusion that's not justified by the facts. You need to recognize that those facts don't prove that conclusion, and you just have to say why.
Yeah.
And if you do, it's like you get X-ray vision on the test. I mean, you just
So
start
true.
seeing right through everything.
Yeah. Please email in if you have more questions or discussion that you want to bring up about predictions. You can email daily@lsatdemon.com. We'd be happy to talk about it. Or if you want to share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.